Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from our channel KHA News. In this video, we'll take a gentle look at the American stars we've recently lost, along with other beloved figures from around the world who have touched our hearts. Before we begin, we truly appreciate it if you could show your support by giving this video a like. It helps us continue sharing these heartfelt stories. Thank you for being here. Now, let's begin.
1.
Corey Parker, the actor known for his roles in Will and Grace and Love Boat: The Next Wave, has died at the age of 60 after battling cancer. His aunt, Emily Parker, confirmed that he died on March 5th in Memphis, Tennessee. Parker had been diagnosed with advanced stage 4 metastatic cancer, which he discovered after undergoing hip replacement surgery. Parker wrote that although his body first responded to treatment, the cancer continued to spread. In November 2025, he shared that 90% of his bones were covered with adenocarcinoma. By January 2026, he said the illness was wearing down my body to the point where I can no longer function properly, adding that he had lost the ability to write and type and struggle to speak. In a final update on February 17th, he described the cancer as terminal and said his family had begun preparing the home for hospice care. He also thanked supporters for their love and donations. Born in New York City, Parker began acting at age 5 and later trained with teachers from the Actor Studio. He graduated from the High School of Performing Arts in Manhattan and started appearing on television in the 1980s, including As the World Turns, The New Leave It to Beaver, and The Bronx Zoo. He also appeared in the film Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. In the 1990s, he gained recognition through roles on 30-something, Eddie Dodd, and Flying Blind, later portraying Dr. John Morgan on Love Boat: The Next Wave. Parker also appeared on Will and Grace as Josh, Grace Adler's boyfriend. Later, he became an acting coach, mentoring students who went on to win Tony, SAG, and Emmy Awards.
2.
Bob Harlan, the visionary executive who helped guide the Green Bay Packers back to greatness, passed away on March 5th at the age of 89, his family announced. Team historian Cliff Crystal said Harlan had recently been hospitalized with pneumonia before his death in Green Bay, Wisconsin. With his passing, the Packers lost not only a leader, but one of the architects of their modern legacy. When Harlan became team president in 1989, the proud franchise had spent more than 2 decades searching for the glory it once knew during the legendary era of Vince Lombardi. In 1991, he hired general manager Ron Wolf, a move that would reshape the future of the organization. Wolf later brought in head coach Mike Holmgren, traded for quarterback Brett Favre, and signed star defensive end Reggie White. Together, they helped lead the Packers to victory in Super Bowl 31, restoring pride to one of football's most storied teams. Harlan's leadership continued to shape the franchise for years before retiring in 2008. He hired general manager Ted Thompson, whose vision helped bring another championship when quarterback Aaron Rodgers and coach Mike McCarthy led the Packers to win Super Bowl 45. Beyond the wins and championships, Harlan helped secure the future of the franchise itself. He played a central role in the $295 million renovation of Lambeau Field, which reopened in 2003 and ensured the Packers remained financially strong for generations to come. Honored with induction into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame in 2004, Bob Harlan leaves behind a legacy of leadership, vision, and devotion that forever changed the history of the Packers.
3.
Troy Murray, a former NHL player and longtime analyst for the Chicago Blackhawks, has died at the age of 63 following a long battle with cancer. The news was announced on March 7th by Blackhawks chairman and CEO Danny Wirtz, who said the organization was deeply heartbroken by the loss of their beloved colleague. Wirtz remembered Murray as a central figure in the franchise for decades, saying his presence had been felt in every corner of our organization over the last 45 years. Known affectionately as Muzz, Murray was admired not only for his accomplishments on the ice, but also for his dedication to the team and its community. Wirtz also reflected on Murray's resilience during illness, noting that throughout his long and hard battle with cancer, it was often said that Murray didn't have any give up in him. Murray was originally selected by Chicago in the 1980 NHL draft and spent his first 10 seasons with the Blackhawks, establishing himself as a strong two-way center and recording career highs of 45 goals, 54 assists, and 99 points in a single season. After leaving Chicago, he played his final NHL season with the Colorado Avalanche, helping the team win the Stanley Cup in 1996. Following his playing career, Murray moved into broadcasting and spent more than 25 years as a Blackhawks analyst. He also served as president of the Blackhawks Alumni Association and was inducted into the Chicagoland Sports Hall of Fame in 2014, leaving a lasting legacy within the hockey community.
4.
Lou Holtz, the legendary voice of college football and one of the most iconic figures in the history of Notre Dame Fighting Irish football, died March 5th at the age of 89 in Orlando, Florida. His family announced Holtz served as Notre Dame's head coach for 11 seasons, compiling a record of 132 and capturing the national championship in the 1988 season. That historic campaign included a memorable victory over number 1 Miami in the famous Catholics versus Convicts game. Under his leadership, Notre Dame also produced its last Heisman Trophy winner, wide receiver Tim Brown, and developed quarterback Tony Rice, who helped guide the Irish offense during the championship run. He ushered Notre Dame into a new era by landing the program's last number 1 recruiting class, introducing the famous "Play Like a Champion Today" sign that players tap before entering the field, and overseeing the beginning of the school's groundbreaking television partnership with NBC. Across 34 seasons as a head coach at programs including William & Mary, NC State, Arkansas, Minnesota, Notre Dame, and South Carolina, Holtz compiled a career record of 249, 132, and 7. He also briefly coached the New York Jets in the NFL before returning to the college ranks. After retiring from coaching, Lou Holtz became a prominent television analyst for ESPN and remained an influential voice in the sport. Remembered for his wit, motivational speeches, and larger-than-life personality, Lou Holtz leaves behind a legacy as one of college football's most charismatic leaders and enduring champions of the Notre Dame spirit.
5.
Bob Power, an influential producer, mixer, and recording engineer who helped shape the sound of hip-hop and R&B, died on March 2nd at the age of 73. His death was confirmed by a Baltimore-area funeral home, though no cause of death or location was announced. Over several decades, Power became widely respected for his innovative use of sampling and his collaborations with groundbreaking artists, including A Tribe Called Quest, D'Angelo, and Erykah Badu. Power played a key role in developing a more complex approach to sampling in rap music, particularly on A Tribe Called Quest's influential 1991 album, The Low End Theory. The album became a landmark recording, blending jazz and hip-hop and featuring creative work from group members Q-Tip and Phife Dawg, alongside Power's layered samples mixed with live bass by jazz musician Ron Carter. Power later explained that the project involved elaborate reconstructions where new music emerged from combinations of samples in ways rarely attempted before. Beginning in the 1980s as an engineer at Calliope Studios in New York, Power built a reputation for experimentation and innovation while working with artists such as De La Soul, Run DMC, and The Roots. He also mixed tracks on Shaq Diesel, the debut album by NBS star Shaquille O'Neal. Throughout his career, Power emphasized serving the music itself. "I am a slave to the song," he once said, explaining that his approach was always whatever the song wants to be. A 2-time Grammy nominee, he later taught music production at New York University, influencing a new generation of artists before retiring in 2025. Dolly Rebecca Parton entered the world on January 19, 1946, in a single-room cabin nestled along the Little Pigeon River in Pittman Center, Tennessee. She was the 4th of 12 children born to Robert Lee Parton and A.V. Lee Owens Parton. Growing up in the rugged foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains, life for the Parton family was marked by deep poverty. Her father labored as a sharecropper and later as a construction worker, doing whatever he could to sustain his large family. Their cabin lacked electricity and running water, and hunger was a familiar companion during Dolly's earliest years. Yet within those stark surroundings, the Parton home overflowed with warmth, faith, and music, forces that would quietly shape Dolly's destiny. Appalachian folk songs and gospel hymns filled the air from morning until night. Her mother sang as she worked, and family gatherings were less about rest than about harmony, with every child encouraged to join in. Music was not an escape from hardship. It was the language through which love, resilience, and hope were expressed. Dolly's gift revealed itself almost as soon as she found her voice. Long before she could read fluently, she was singing with startling clarity and emotional power. By the age of 6, she was performing in churches and at local community events, drawing attention for both her voice and her natural ease before an audience. Her uncle, Bill Owens, quickly recognized that her talent was rare. At a time when dreams were often limited by circumstance, he chose to nurture hers, becoming her earliest mentor and champion. Poverty left visible marks on Dolly's childhood. She often wore dresses sewn from rags or flour sacks, clothing that made her a target for ridicule at school. Other children mocked her appearance, branding her as poor and unclean. These early wounds stayed with her, later resurfacing as both empathy and defiance. In time, she would transform those memories into humor and self-ownership, famously reframing childhood cruelty into a statement of pride and control over her own image. Despite the lack of material comfort, Dolly has always spoken of her upbringing with gratitude. She described her family as poor in money but wealthy in closeness, storytelling, and mountain wisdom. Education was treated with respect in the Parton household, even though her parents had little formal schooling themselves. Dolly attended a small rural school where she proved to be a keen student, though her heart was constantly pulled toward melodies and lyrics rather than textbooks. As soon as she learned to write, she began composing songs, filling pages with stories inspired by mountain life, faith, and longing. By the age of 10, she was already a familiar voice on local radio and television in Knoxville, extending her reach beyond her immediate community. A pivotal moment came when she appeared on the Cass Walker Show, a popular regional program that introduced her to a wider audience. Soon after, at just 13, she recorded her first single, Puppy Love, for a small Louisiana label. In 1964, the day after finishing high school, Dolly made a decisive leap. With a guitar, a handful of dollars, and unwavering belief, she left Tennessee for Nashville. She told her family she was going to become a star, a declaration many dismissed as unrealistic in a city crowded with talent and broken dreams. Nashville greeted her with the same obstacles faced by countless hopeful musicians: rejection, financial strain, and anonymity. She took whatever work she could, writing songs relentlessly and knocking on doors with Bill Owens at her side, determined to be heard. Fate intervened almost immediately. On her very first day in the city, outside the wishy-washy laundromat, she met Carl Dean, a quiet encounter that would become one of the most enduring relationships of her life. They were married quietly 2 years later in 1966, and from that point forward, he became her unwavering anchor. Carl Dean chose a life firmly outside the glare of fame, remaining almost entirely invisible to the public while offering Dolly something far more valuable than publicity: steadiness, privacy, and unconditional belief. As her personal life found its balance, her professional life began to accelerate. Long before she was recognized as a star vocalist, Dolly earned respect as a songwriter. Signing with Combine Publishing, she immersed herself in Nashville's writing rooms, crafting songs that were soon picked up by established artists. Within the industry, her name began to circulate not as a novelty, but as a serious creative force with an instinct for melody and emotional truth. Her decisive breakthrough as a performer arrived in 1967 when Porter Wagoner, already one of country music's most powerful figures, invited her to become a regular on his nationally syndicated television show. The opportunity altered the course of her career. Appearing weekly before millions of viewers, Dolly quickly captured attention with her crystalline voice, Appalachian warmth, and an image that grew steadily bolder and more glamorous. What began as a mentorship soon evolved into one of the most influential partnerships in country music history, though it would ultimately carry emotional and professional costs. Between 1968 and 1974, Dolly and Wagner recorded a prolific series of duet albums that dominated the country charts. Their voices blended with remarkable precision, producing multiple #1 hits, including The Last Thing on My Mind, Please Don't Stop Loving Me, and Making Plans. These recordings cemented Dolly's visibility and credibility, establishing her as a household name rather than a promising newcomer. Yet even as the duo thrived commercially, Dolly quietly worked to define herself beyond the partnership. During these same years, she released solo albums through RCA Records, gradually carving out an artistic identity distinct from Wagner's shadow. Songs such as Joshua and My Tennessee Mountain Home revealed a songwriter drawing deeply from memory, faith, and lived experience. Her lyrics carried the textures of rural life, hardship, devotion, longing, delivered with clarity and restraint that resonated powerfully with listeners. She was no longer simply a performer, she was becoming a storyteller of rare emotional precision. That evolution reached a defining moment in 1971 with the release of Coat of Many Colors. Rooted in a true childhood memory, the song recounts the coat her mother stitched together from scraps and the ridicule young Dolly endured for wearing it to school. Through its biblical reference to Joseph's coat, the song transformed poverty and humiliation into a meditation on love, dignity, and spiritual wealth. Though it peaked at #4 on the country charts, its impact far exceeded its commercial ranking. It became one of the most cherished compositions in country music history, firmly establishing Dolly as an artist capable of turning personal pain into universal meaning. By the mid-1970s, Dolly recognized that to fully realize her artistic vision, she would need to step away from Porter Wagoner professionally. The separation was neither smooth nor amicable. It led to legal battles and public tension that lingered for years. Yet from that emotionally charged break emerged one of the most enduring songs ever written, I Will Always Love You. Composed as a farewell rather than a romantic declaration, Dolly distilled gratitude, sorrow, and independence into a few deceptively simple lines. Released in 1974, it soared to the top of the country charts and demonstrated Dolly's extraordinary ability to express complex emotional landscapes with grace and restraint. Decades later, the song would achieve global immortality through Whitney Houston's 1992 recording for The Bodyguard. Still, Dolly's original version remains a landmark in country music, and one of the most financially successful songs in history, thanks to her insistence on retaining publishing rights. Free from Wagner's orbit, Dolly assembled her own touring ensemble, the Traveling Family Band, and embarked on an ambitious period of recording and touring that defined the mid-1970s. Her 1974 album, Jolene, marked another creative peak. The title track, built around the hypnotic chord progression and an urgent, almost breathless vocal, told a story of a woman pleading with a rival not to take her lover. Its simplicity masked its brilliance, and it quickly became an international classic, reinterpreted across genres and generations. The album also included I Will Always Love You, giving Dolly two timeless songs on a single record, a rare artistic achievement. As the year's decade progressed, Dolly made a calculated and controversial decision to expand beyond the boundaries of country music. Her move toward pop was met with skepticism by traditionalists who feared she was abandoning her roots. Dolly saw it differently. She viewed crossover not as departure but as expansion, a way to carry country music's emotional core to a wider audience. That philosophy paid off in 1977 with Here You Come Again, a pop-inflected ballad that became her first million single, earned her first Grammy Award, and climbed to #3 on the Billboard Hot 100 while topping the country charts. The success confirmed her ability to move fluidly between musical worlds without losing authenticity. Her commercial momentum surged through the late 1970s and early 1980s. The platinum-selling album Heartbreaker in 1978 further solidified her crossover appeal, followed by a string of hits including Baby Burnin', Two Doors Down, and You're the Only One. Each release demonstrated her adaptability as a vocalist and her intuitive grasp of contemporary sound, even as her personality remained unmistakably her own. By this stage, Dolly Parton had become more than a recording artist. She emerged as a fully realized entertainment force, an artist whose image, humor, intelligence, and business instincts were inseparable from her music. Her career was no longer defined by genre alone, but by an extraordinary capacity to evolve while remaining deeply rooted in the values and stories that shaped her from the beginning. In 1980, Dolly Parton crossed another decisive threshold when she made her feature film debut in 9 to 5, starring alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. What could have been a risky departure instead became a defining triumph. Dolly not only held her own opposite two of Hollywood's most respected actresses, but also wrote and performed the film's title song, a sharp, witty anthem that quickly grew into one of the most successful recordings of her career. 9 to 5 resonated far beyond the screen, capturing the frustrations and quiet resilience of working people with uncommon humor and clarity. The song raced to the top of both the country and pop charts, remaining at #1 for 2 weeks and earning Dolly an Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song. Its instantly recognizable rhythm, created by Dolly clicking her acrylic fingernails together, paired with lyrics that spoke directly to workplace inequality and empowerment, turned it into a cultural touchstone. More than a hit, it positioned Dolly as a voice for everyday workers, expanding her relevance far beyond music alone. The success of 9 to 5 opened Hollywood's doors, ushering Dolly into a decade where she balanced recording, touring, and acting with remarkable intensity. Throughout the 1980s, she appeared in a series of high-profile films, including The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas opposite Burt Reynolds, Rhinestone with Sylvester Stallone, and Steel Magnolias, where she joined a powerhouse ensemble of leading actresses. While critical reception varied, these roles kept Dolly firmly in the public eye and confirmed her ability to command a screen alongside major stars without losing her authenticity. Even as her acting career expanded, Dolly never stepped away from music. She continued releasing albums and producing chart-topping singles, most notably Islands in the Stream, her duet with Kenny Rogers. Written and produced by the Bee Gees, the song became one of the best-selling singles of 1983 and highlighted Dolly's rare ability to collaborate seamlessly across genres. Country, pop, and adult contemporary audiences all embraced her, reinforcing her status as one of the most versatile artists of her era. Her ambitions extended well beyond entertainment. In 1986, Dolly opened Dollywood, a theme park in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, near the mountains where she was raised. More than a business venture, Dollywood reflected her enduring commitment to her roots. The park quickly became one of Tennessee's top tourist attractions, creating thousands of jobs in a region long marked by economic hardship. By celebrating Appalachian culture, crafts, and music while providing family-centered entertainment, Dollywood embodied Dolly's belief that success carried an obligation to uplift others, especially the community that shaped her from the beginning. Behind the scenes, however, the relentless pace of her career came at a cost. Over the course of her decades-long journey, Dolly faced serious health challenges that periodically forced her to slow down. Though famously private about medical details, she has acknowledged that the early 1980s marked a period of extreme exhaustion and stress-related illness. The strain of sustaining a music career, launching a film presence, managing expanding business ventures, and navigating personal pressures pushed her body and spirit to their limits. One of the most significant health crises of her life occurred during this period, when Dolly underwent a partial hysterectomy due to endometriosis, a painful condition she had endured for years. The surgery proved more complicated than anticipated, and recovery was long and emotionally taxing. For someone defined by energy, discipline, and constant motion, being confined to rest was deeply unsettling. The operation also ended any possibility of her having biological children, a loss that carried unexpected emotional weight, even though she and Carl Dean had previously agreed not to have children given her demanding career and his desire for privacy. What followed was one of the darkest chapters of Dolly's life. In later years, she spoke openly about sinking into a profound depression after the surgery, though she kept her suffering hidden at the time. Physical pain, hormonal upheaval, and the emotional impact of infertility converged into what she later described as a perfect storm. She gained weight during this period, intensifying her distress in an industry where appearance had always been closely tied to identity and public perception. In moments of rare candor, Dolly later revealed she reached the edge of despair, even contemplating suicide. She described sitting alone with a loaded gun, overwhelmed with hopelessness. What interrupted that moment, she said, was her dog, Popeye, who wandered into the room and seemed to sense that something was terribly wrong. That small, quiet intrusion became a turning point, one that pulled her back from the brink and marked the beginning of a slow return toward balance, resilience, and renewed purpose. The quiet interruption of her dog's presence shattered the spiral of thought and brought Dolly back to herself. In that fragile moment, she understood that she could not follow through, that life, however painful, was still tethered to love and responsibility. She has since said that her deep spiritual faith and the awareness of how profoundly her death would wound her family also anchored her to survival. In the aftermath of that crisis, she made a deliberate choice to seek professional help, entering therapy and accepting medical support as she worked through the depths of her depression rather than hiding it behind optimism and performance. In later years, Dolly chose to speak openly about this period, not to dwell on suffering, but to offer hope to others standing in similar darkness. By sharing her experience, she used her visibility to challenge the silence and shame that often surround mental health struggles, emphasizing that despair can touch anyone, regardless of success or public adoration. Her honesty became another form of service, as meaningful as any song she ever wrote. In 2013, Dolly encountered yet another physical setback when she was involved in a car accident that caused injuries requiring medical care. Publicly, she minimized the severity, maintaining her customary resilience and humor. Privately, however, those close to her acknowledged that the accident was more serious than she allowed the world to see, and that recovery demanded far more time and patience than she anticipated. The incident forced her to cancel appearances, an uncommon decision for someone whose sense of duty to their audience has always been nearly unbreakable. The accident served as a sobering reminder of her own mortality and the physical toll of sustaining an unrelenting schedule well into her 60s. Throughout the 2000s, Dolly continued to confront health challenges linked to aging and decades of physically demanding performances and travel. Persistent digestive and stomach issues became an ongoing concern, occasionally requiring medical intervention and careful management. She has spoken candidly about struggling with acid reflux and other gastrointestinal conditions, problems often intensified by stress, irregular meals, and constant movement. At times, these issues compromised her ability to perform with the boundless energy audiences had come to expect. Still, she adapted, learning to manage symptoms and endure discomfort with professionalism. Even when her body resisted the pace her spirit still desired. Dolly has never shied away from discussing cosmetic procedures, addressing the subject with humor and candor. She has openly acknowledged breast augmentation early in her career and joked about many enhancements and adjustments she has made to maintain her iconic image. Yet beneath the jokes lies a reality she does not ignore. These are real medical procedures, carrying genuine risks and requiring recovery. Over the years, she experienced complications from some of these elective surgeries, including issues with breast implants that necessitated corrective operations. Her lighthearted tone often masks the seriousness of these experiences, but they remain part of the physical price she paid to sustain a carefully crafted public persona in an unforgiving industry. Despite the glittering arc of her career, Dolly Parton's life has also been shaped by profound personal losses, griefs that deepened her emotional well and gave her music its enduring resonance. The first devastating loss came in 1990 with the death of her uncle Bill Owens. More than a relative, Bill had been her earliest collaborator, co-writing many of her first songs and believing in her long before the world took notice. He had known her before fame transformed her into an icon, when she was simply a gifted mountain girl chasing improbable dreams. His passing stripped away one of the few people who remembered her before success filtered her remembrance.
In response, Dolly did what she had always done in moments of pain. She turned to songwriting. Through her music, she honored his memory and acknowledged the debt she owed him for his unwavering faith during her most uncertain years. Even that loss, however, did not compare to the grief she endured in 2003 with the death of her mother, A.V. Lee Parton. A.V. Lee had been the emotional and spiritual cornerstone of the family, the woman who sang to her children through poverty, who stitched coats from scraps, and who taught lessons of dignity, faith, and love amid deprivation. Dolly shared an extraordinarily close bond with her mother, maintaining constant contact despite an exhausting career and returning home whenever she could. When A.V. Lee was diagnosed with cancer, Dolly made every effort to be present, often flying back between performances to sit at her mother's bedside. Watching the formidable matriarch who raised 12 children slowly fade was an anguish Dolly has described as almost unbearable. Her mother's death left a hollow space that, by her own admission, could never be filled. In the years that followed, Dolly often became visibly emotional when speaking of her mother, tears flowing freely as she recalled memories and expressed the depth of her loss. She wrote several deeply personal songs in tribute, compositions that captured the intimacy and strength of their relationship. That grief was further complicated by the quiet guilt familiar to many driven, successful children, the fear that ambition may have stolen time that can never be reclaimed. Though she knew her mother was proud of her beyond measure, the heart, she learned, does not always yield easily to reason. In 2018, Dolly Parton was confronted with yet another devastating loss when her younger brother, Randy Parton, passed away at the age of 67 after a relentless struggle with cancer. Randy, like Dolly, had been drawn to music, following her into the industry with hope and determination. Though his career never reached the same global heights, he found this place performing at Dollywood and contributing to the family's entertainment ventures, remaining closely woven into the world Dolly had built. As the eldest sister, she had always watched over him with quiet protectiveness, offering guidance, opportunity, and support whenever she could. Randy's illness progressed swiftly and aggressively. Despite access to the best care and Dolly's unwavering presence, the disease proved unstoppable. Losing a sibling carries a particular kind of sorrow, not only the absence of someone dearly loved, but the disappearance of a living witness to your shared beginnings. Randy was someone who remembered the early days, before fame, before distance and schedules intervened, when life consisted of barefoot childhood games and mountain air in the Smokies. His death closed another chapter of that shared past. The timing of Randy's passing made the grief even heavier. It came during a period when Dolly was already burdened by ongoing health concerns affecting other members of her family. Like many large families shaped by hardship, the Partons had endured years of medical struggles across generations. Dolly, long recognized as the family's primary provider, used her success to ensure that her siblings and their children had access to quality health care and financial stability. Carrying the role of benefactor can be quietly exhausting, particularly when wealth and influence still cannot shield loved ones from mortality. Earlier losses had already taught her this painful truth. The death of her father, Robert Lee Parton, in 2000, marked another profound turning point. Unlike the bond she shared with her mother, Dolly's relationship with her father had been layered and complex. He was a man shaped by scarcity and responsibility, defined by a traditional mountain masculinity that rarely allowed for emotional expression. In childhood, he could seem distant and stern. With time, Dolly came to understand him more deeply, recognizing the dignity in his endurance and the sacrifices he made to support a family of 12 with little more than determination and grit. His passing represented more than the loss of a parent. It marked the fading of an entire generation's lived wisdom and severed another tie to the world that had formed her. As the years went on, similar losses accumulated beyond her family. Friends, collaborators, and fellow artists from across the entertainment industry gradually disappeared, each death a reminder of time's steady passage. Long careers, she learns, carry long goodbyes. Among those losses, the death of Kenny Rogers in 2020 struck with particular force. Their musical partnership had produced some of the most beloved duets in modern country music, but more importantly, it had grown into a genuine friendship rooted in mutual respect and affection. The circumstances of the global pandemic prevented Dolly from attending his funeral, compounding her grief with a sense of unfinished farewell. When she later honored him publicly through song, her emotion was unmistakable, her voice trembling with sincerity as audiences around the world witnessed a rare moment of unguarded sorrow. Beyond these singular moments of loss, Dolly has also endured the slower heartbreak of watching people she loves fade through aging, illness, and memory loss. Dementia, declining health, and physical fragility have touched several members of her family, and many from the close-knit mountain community of her youth.
Each funeral in Sevier, each memorial service for someone who once shared her early life, feels like another thread pulled from the fabric of her origins. Yet even as that fabric thins, she remains determined to honor it. Through grief, Dolly has held fast to faith, humor, and purpose. Rather than retreat inward, she has chosen to live more generously, using her voice, her resources, and her visibility to uplift others in memory of those she has lost. Loss for her has become not an endpoint, but a call to deeper compassion. Now at 78 years old, Dolly Parton remains astonishingly active, her influence undiminished at an age when most have long stepped away from public life. Her present-day existence blends creativity, leadership, philanthropy, and cultural stewardship in ways few artists ever achieve. She has gracefully transitioned from tireless touring performer to an elder stateswoman of American culture, while simultaneously reinventing herself for younger generations, who may know her less through music and more through her values, humor, and generosity. Her daily life still reflects the discipline of her upbringing. By her own account, Dolly often arises around 3 in the morning, a habit formed during decades of early radio and television appearances. She treasures those quiet hours before dawn, using them for songwriting, reflection, prayer, and planning. Despite immense wealth, she clings to the work ethic and practicality instilled during her childhood, believing that comfort should never replace purpose. She remains deeply involved in her creative process, writing songs wherever inspiration finds her, on tour buses, in hotel rooms, or at home with an instrument close at hand. New melodies still arrive with surprising frequency, and her passion for songwriting has not diminished with age. In many ways, she remains the same mountain girl she always was, still listening, still creating, and still turning life's joy and sorrow into something meaningful for the world. Dolly Parton's marriage to Carl Dean, now approaching 60 decades, has endured not in despite its unconventional nature, but largely because of it. From the beginning, Carl chose a life firmly removed from the spotlight, declining any role in the entertainment world and rarely appearing in public beside her famous wife. While Dolly's life has unfolded across stages, studios, and continents, Carl has remained rooted at their home in Nashville, providing a sense of normalcy that fame could never offer. Though separated by travel for much of the year, Dolly has always made returning home a priority, preserving the private rhythm of a relationship that thrives on mutual respect and independence. Their partnership has worked precisely because it is grounded in balance rather than spectacle. Carl represents constancy in a world defined by attention and change, a steady presence untouched by celebrity. Dolly often speaks of him with unmistakable tenderness, describing him as her emotional anchor, and the one person who has known her simply as Dolly long before the wigs, rhinestones, and global recognition. In a life shaped by public adoration, their marriage has remained a protected space of intimacy and authenticity. As her personal life has remained stable, Dolly's focus in recent years has increasingly shifted towards philanthropy, an area that now stands alongside music as a central pillar of her legacy. Nowhere is this more evident than in the Imagination Library, the literacy program she founded in 1995. What began as a modest initiative in her home county of Sevier, Tennessee, has grown into a global operation that provides free books to children from birth to age 5. Mailing millions of books each month, the program reaches families regardless of income, language, or geography, united by the belief that early access to reading can change the trajectory of a child's life. The COVID-19 pandemic unexpectedly accelerated the program's growth, as parents and educators worldwide renewed their focus on early childhood development. Dolly responded by making the Imagination Library a central priority of her public advocacy, directing fundraising efforts and awareness towards its expansion. During the same period, she demonstrated her commitment to public good in another profound way, donating $1 million to Vanderbilt University Medical Center to support coronavirus research. That contribution helped fund work that played a role in the development of the Moderna vaccine, placing Dolly at the heart of a global scientific effort. When vaccines became widely available, she again stepped forward publicly, receiving her own vaccination and encouraging others to do the same. With humor, warmth, and credibility, she addressed vaccine hesitancy, particularly in rural communities where skepticism ran deep. Her involvement resonated far beyond traditional fan bases, sparking viral moments, memes, and tributes that introduced younger generations to her, not just as a musician, but as a trusted cultural voice and humanitarian. Even as her public influence has broadened, Dolly has never fully stepped away from music. She continues to write, record, and release new material, including a Christmas album in 2020 that reaffirmed her enduring connection to tradition and joy. While she has largely retired from the physically punishing months-long tours of her earlier years, she now opts for selective appearances that allow her to protect her health and energy. This measured approach has enabled her to remain creatively active without sacrificing longevity. She has also embraced modern technology with surprising ease, maintaining a lively presence on social media platforms such as Instagram and X. There, she engages directly with fans, shares updates on projects, and delivers her signature humor in bite-sized reflections that feel both timely and timeless. In doing so, she bridges generations, remaining visible and relevant in a rapidly shifting cultural landscape. Her business empire continues to flourish, anchored by Dollywood, which stands as one of America's most successful theme parks and a vital economic engine for East Tennessee. Over the years, the park has expanded thoughtfully, adding new attractions while preserving its focus on Appalachian heritage and family-centered entertainment. Though Dolly has delegated daily operations to trusted executives, she remains actively involved in shaping the park's vision and values. Dollywood's success has fueled further investment in the region, including the development of resorts and hospitality ventures that bring tourism, jobs, and long-term opportunity to an area once limited in economic prospects. These projects reflect Dolly's lifelong commitment to reinvesting success back into the community that raised her. In parallel, she has deepened her involvement in film and television production, using her storytelling instincts and business insight to create content across multiple platforms. Through her production company, she has developed movies and series inspired by her songs and life experiences, including successful collaborations with Netflix. These projects extend her musical catalog into narrative form, while also spotlighting Appalachian culture, resilient women, and the moral values she has always championed. By stepping into production, Dolly has gained greater control over how stories are told and who gets to tell them. Just as importantly, she has created opportunities for other artists and creators, ensuring her influence multiplies rather than narrows with time. Her impact on contemporary music and culture remains profound, with younger artists frequently citing her as an inspiration and seeking her collaboration or approval. She has appeared on recordings and stages with artists spanning genres and generations, from country newcomers to pop icons, demonstrating that true artistry is not confined by age or category. These collaborations introduce her legacy to new audiences while reinforcing a truth she has embodied for decades. Authenticity, generosity, and creativity endure far longer than trends. Dolly Parton approaches collaboration with younger artists not as a legend granting approval, but as a peer genuinely excited by creative exchange. She enters these partnerships with curiosity and respect, never asserting superiority despite her towering cultural status. That humility, paired with her openness, has endeared her to new generations, who see her not as an untouchable icon, but as a living, evolving artist. In much the same way, she has become an unexpected fashion and beauty symbol for younger audiences. The oversized hair, glittering rhinestones, and figure-hugging silhouettes that once drew ridicule are now celebrated as deliberate acts of self-define rather than excess. Cultural attitudes have shifted, recognizing that Dolly's image was never imposed upon her, but consciously created by her. Her refusal to bow to expectations about how women should age or how femininity should be expressed has reframed her aesthetic as empowerment instead of spectacle. By owning her appearance unapologetically, she reclaimed traditionally girly presentation as a source of agency. Her ventures into beauty and fragrance lines reflect that philosophy, and her quotes about style and self-image have become rallying cries for women who reject shame. None resonates more than her famously wry observation that it costs a lot of money to look this cheap, a line that encapsulates both humor and defiance. Her social media presence offers a window into this modern incarnation of Dolly. Technologically fluent, culturally aware, yet deeply rooted in authenticity, she uses these platforms to share news of her work, post nostalgic photos, and reflect on moments from her past with warmth and clarity. When cultural or national events unfold, she responds with a blend of wit and compassion that feels both timely and timeless. In moments of crisis, her voice carries particular weight, and she has repeatedly used that influence to comfort and mobilize. This instinct was powerfully evident in 2016, when wildfires devastated the Gatlinburg area near Dollywood. In response, Dolly established My People Fund, offering direct financial aid to families who lost their homes. By providing monthly payments to affected residents, she addressed immediate needs without bureaucracy or publicity. The effort underscored her role not simply as a benefactor, but as a caretaker, someone personally invested in the survival and dignity of her community. That response revealed a deeper truth about Dolly's present-day identity. She has become a matriarch and guardian of the region that shaped her. To the people of Sevier County and the surrounding Smoky Mountains, she is not a distant celebrity, but one of their own. She has consistently reinvested in the area through scholarships, support for local businesses, and economic development initiatives designed to benefit residents rather than displace them. As she has grown older, this sense of place has become increasingly central to her public life, completing a quiet circle back to her mountain roots. Creatively, Dolly shows no sign of retreat, though her work has taken on greater depth and reflection. Her recent songwriting engages more directly with themes of time, mortality, faith, and legacy, subjects that once hovered at the edges of her work, but now stand at the center. These songs carry a gravity born of lived experience, yet they remain accessible, infused with empathy and clarity rather than heaviness. She has spoken candidly about wanting to leave behind meaningful music, creating songs that will speak even after she no longer can. That awareness of legacy runs through much of her current output, though she approaches it with characteristic lightness. She jokes about writing her own funeral songs and planning how she wants to be remembered, using humor as a way to face life's inevitabilities without fear. Faith continues to anchor her worldview. While her spirituality has evolved beyond the rigid doctrines of her childhood, it remains deeply personal and inclusive. She speaks openly about prayer, her relationship with God, and her belief that talent carries moral responsibility. This faith informs not only her philanthropy, but her interactions with others and her ability to maintain perspective amid immense success. She has often said that prayer sustained her through depression, grief, and uncertainty, offering strength when public acclaim could not. Her bond with family remains strong, even as time reshapes those relationships. She stays close to her surviving siblings and takes an active role in the lives of her nieces, nephews, and their children. Though she never became a biological mother, she has embraced her identity as an aunt and great-aunt with deep commitment, supporting education and encouraging younger relatives to pursue their ambitions. She has reflected that being childless allowed her to nurture countless children through her charitable work, especially the Imagination Library. As Dolly Parton moves through her late 70s, she is acutely aware of her own mortality and the legacy she will leave behind. Yet she approaches these realities with the same blend of practicality, humor, and wisdom that has defined her life. Her concern is not how she will be praised, but whether her work will continue to serve others. In discussing her future plans, both immediate projects and long-term visions, she reveals a woman still driven by purpose, still looking forward, even as she acknowledges the finite nature of time. One of Dolly Parton's deepest priorities as she looks towards the future is safeguarding the longevity of her philanthropic work, especially the Imagination Library. She has been deliberate in building organizational frameworks, endowments, and leadership structures designed to ensure the program's survival beyond her direct involvement. Fully aware that a mission as vital as childhood literacy cannot depend on the presence of a single individual, she has surrounded herself with capable, values-driven professionals who understand both the heart and the mechanics of the initiative. Her goal has never been personal credit, but permanence, creating a living institution that continues to serve children long after her voice is no longer guiding it. This foresight reflects not only generosity, but shrewd strategic thinking. Dolly understands that lasting impact is created through systems, not symbols. By prioritizing sustainability over personality, she has transformed charitable intention into durable infrastructure, ensuring her legacy is measured in outcomes rather than memories. Artistically, she remains as driven as ever. Songwriting and recording are still central to her daily life, fueled by an inner creative force that is not dimmed with time. She has spoken openly about unfinished musical ambitions, including a desire to explore genres she has yet to fully inhabit. Among these is a long-visioned rock album, alongside additional gospel projects that mirror the evolution of her faith. Her induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2022 crystallized this impulse. Though she initially hesitated, feeling she had not yet earned that distinction as a rock artist, she ultimately accepted with humility and resolve, publicly committing to create work worthy of the honor. That response speaks volumes about her character. Even at a stage of life when many would be content to reflect on past triumphs, Dolly remains oriented toward growth. She continues to define herself not as a monument to earlier success, but as an active working artist with something new to say. Her influence, however, now reaches far beyond music. She occupies a unique place in cultural discourse, shaping conversations about feminism, aging, authenticity, and self-determination. Younger generations in particular have embraced her as a model of empowerment, recognizing that her image was never imposed upon her, but consciously designed. In a world that still seeks to regulate women's appearance and behavior, Dolly stands as proof that glamour and intelligence, tradition and independence can coexist without apology. Her words, often delivered with humor and plain-spoken clarity, have become touchstones for those navigating societal expectations. She embodies a rare balance, deeply rooted in her origins yet perpetually evolving, unapologetically feminine yet fiercely autonomous. Through her example, she has expanded the definition of what power can look like. Dolly has also expressed a desire to write more extensively in the years ahead. Having already shared her life story through autobiography and children's literature, she now feels called to pass along the practical wisdom gathered through decades of experience. Her perspective, shaped by childhood poverty, extraordinary achievement, emotional hardship, and enduring faith, offers guidance that extends well beyond entertainment. She understands that her ability to communicate profound truths in simple, accessible language makes her uniquely positioned to teach, comfort, and inspire. Behind the scenes, she has taken equal care in planning the future of her business ventures. Succession strategies are firmly in place for Dollywood and related enterprises, ensuring continuity for employees and communities alike. She has always viewed business as a moral endeavor, believing companies should uplift the people who sustain them by prioritizing fair wages, benefits, and dignity in the workplace. She has built enterprises that function not only as profit generators, but as engines of social stability. This philosophy guarantees that her economic footprint will be as constructive as her artistic and charitable ones. At the same time, Dolly has spoken candidly about a growing desire for stillness. After decades defined by motion, she longs to spend more time at home with Carl, enjoying the quiet pleasures that fame often postponed. She imagines mornings without schedules, music played purely for joy, and long hours on her porch reconnecting with the simplicity of mountain life that first nurtured her creativity. Yet, even as she speaks of rest, she continues to accept new challenges. The drive that once carried her from a one-room cabin to global prominence remains deeply embedded within her. This ongoing tension between the wish for peace and the impulse to create shapes her present-day existence. It is the rhythm of a life still in motion even as it slows. Ultimately, Dolly Parton's hopes for her legacy are strikingly modest. More than awards or accolades, she wants her life's work to continue doing good, to open books, lift spirits, create opportunity, and remind people that kindness, imagination, and faith can change the world. In that aspiration, she reveals once again the quiet truth behind her extraordinary journey. That greatness for her has never been about being remembered, but about leaving something that still matters.